ice cream. Only one of me and nobody's like me. Phone ringing and I tell him it's ice. I got wifey on bling and she icy. Freeze, photo, please, no photos. No, G's, no, please, no photos.
Camera's about to die. I realized I never introduced myself in the last video. So maybe I'll just touch on that right now. My name is Kalechi. I was born and raised here in Canada. And these past couple of years where I really focused in on my strength and seeing increases in my lifts. And it made me realize that I wasn't really taking the time to actually apply any of that to seeing how far I could go with it. I saw this clip with Larry Wheels.
Advice to someone that's getting into lifting.
Work with a coach. If you can't find a coach to work with face-to-face, or don't have the funds, then hop on a structured program. Find a competition that interests you, because competing brings the best out of you.
So I'll actually be bringing the camera in the morning and be looking to do some morning workouts going forward. Look at this, yo. Unfortunately, blizzard came through this morning, so it wasn't very safe to drive, and I'm gonna be going this evening instead. But going forward, really want to switch my workouts to mornings instead of evenings, because my evenings are gonna start getting quite busy. So definitely gonna need that switch, but obviously you gotta get to the gym safely before you can work out. So that's where we're at today. Yeah, like you start to realize as you get older, you really start to hone in and focus on the things that you can control and the things that you can change about yourself. And then through that, you're able to change so many other things about your life and just the world around you. Whereas if you don't do that work, you tend to almost hyper focus on other people. And I think I was realizing through the time that I was spending on social media that I was redirecting my focus towards others rather than on myself. And over the last couple of years, I've definitely scaled back my social media use, and I'm trying to now look at how I can refocus that social media activity on building myself up and also maybe building up some others along the way. So right now I'm trying to actually, on that note, one of the things that I've noticed in the way that I talk is that I use a lot of filler words that emphasize my own uncertainty around what I'm capable of. So I'll often say things like, I kind of want to, I'm trying to, I've thought about maybe, and that's something that through this process, I'm going to start to notice that a lot more because I have to watch myself in the editing and all of the other, clips that I go through. So now that's something that now makes me hyper aware of that behavior. And I find it fascinating when you start to see footage of yourself or when you start to look back on maybe recordings and things that you've done, that you're able to pick out certain things that you maybe didn't like and that you can start to alter and adjust. Not necessarily to change yourself in a way that you don't want to, but just to be more mindful of the way that you conduct yourself and what that reflects about your subconscious or just things that you may feel about yourself that you're not even aware of. Could have led to nothing, but I'm realizing like there's value in having like these different skill sets and just being willing to put them out there and not tying it to any sort of like monetary outcomes or values, but just like doing it just to do it, and then who knows what it'll lead to.
That is such a good point. I feel like that's a lesson I'm learning from my brother right now.
Like this podcast?
Yeah, he literally like has only like maybe 10, 15 listeners to each one of his episodes, but the level of enthusiasm he puts in each show is astronomical, and he seems to be having fun.
And that'll get you more than halfway there.
Yeah, and he will like come from his work and I'll call him and I'll be like, yeah, I'm just taking a quick nap and then I have to watch all the Batman movies because I have a review coming up before and I'm just like, he really is just that invested in something that brings him joy. And it just made me think of like, why am I being so hard on myself about the gym when maybe my PR right now is not like being able to lift super heavy, but it's this like joy that I have in like going to the gym every day. I never thought I would have that.
Right.
Like I literally never thought I would be someone who would be like, when are we going to the gym next? But now that's it. Like I'll be halfway through doing cardio and stretching and I'm like find myself like smiling under the mask because I'm really having fun. So perhaps that's like my goal right now. And just like, just being able to enjoy watching videos of other people lifting and just be like, maybe I'll try that. And I never thought I would be that person, but here I am and I'm enjoying doing that. So maybe I just need to like cut myself some slack. Yeah, like I probably don't look like someone who goes to the gym, but who cares if that's how I look or don't look.
And I think what's more important too is like, like you touched on it. You touched on how there's that good feeling that it brings you, and you're just kind of leaning into that more than whether or not it looks as if you are selling it. You know what I mean? Because so much of what we take away from marketing is that there's a certain way that something is supposed to look, there's a certain way that something's supposed to be done, there's a certain feeling something is supposed to give us. Mm-hmm. And when our experience doesn't line up with that, then it often becomes something that the person sort of perpetuates back on themselves, like, oh, well, then there's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
And I think what I'm realizing is like, and you kind of touched on this as well, is like, you know, you kind of just try stuff out and see how it goes and kind of go from there. But I think also what's interesting is like the fact that I've been able to hit numbers strength-wise that I never really saw myself hitting before is really shattering this idea of where I thought my limits were, and then it's making me realize that those limits were self-inflicted and self-imposed.
Absolutely.
And I think where you're at kind of right now with your training and feeling like you're a little bit maybe stuck or just not seeing the results that you're wanting to get, is there may be some self-inflicted limitations that are there, that with, you know, getting a trainer and just getting some, you know, outside assistance and getting, you know, those resources in place to help you, it may click at some point that you're like, oh, you know what, like, it wasn't that I wasn't capable, I actually was capable, I was just maybe ill-informed on something, you know, technique-wise, or just like I wasn't utilizing something that was already available to me.
Yeah.
And it'll just sort of click for you one day, and I expect that you're probably gonna not just break your plateau, but like shatter it. Because you're gonna have a whole different approach to how your training is supposed to be done. I think sometimes you kind of go into approaching a lift thinking like, I want to do this with the right technique, I want to do this correctly.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, when you get into like heavier and heavier numbers, like you'll have the muscle memory to retain proper technique.
Yeah.
But proper technique doesn't carry itself all the way through to when you're doing like 400, 500, 600 pounds. Like at a certain point, you're going to start to, like at a certain point, technique breaks down a little bit, not completely, not like completely ever, but at a certain point, you just have to say fuck it and just be like, yo, I'm going to just go for this. And if I fail the lift, as long as I don't injure myself, like there's no embarrassment in trying and failing. Like, did you see Grace's post where she did like the clean and press?
No.
So like she tried like 3 or 4 different times, couldn't get the weight over, and you know, like just basically bailed a few different times. And then it wasn't until like the 4th or 5th attempt that she actually got it. But what was cool is like you see in the video that like she's trying, but she's not getting it. You know, she's trying again and she's failing, or she's, you know, the technique's not quite there, or just it's too heavy and she's kind of like hesitating. But eventually she got it. It wasn't it wasn't like smooth and like perfect and like, you know, flawless from start to finish. She fucking got it though.
Nowadays, nothing really is ice. Only one of me and nobody's like me. Phone ringing and I tell him it's ice. I got wifey on blingy, she ice. Freeze, photo,